This week on Nerd News Now, the Bumblebee trailer drops, and it is a blast from the past. Also, Doctor Who premieres overseas in Sheffield. We have to wait till October 7th, but you don't have to wait to watch Nerd News Now right now. Hello, welcome to Nerd News Now for September 26, 2018. Once again, as always, joined by Miss Jen and Ashford to discuss all the news, not only of this week, but of last week, because a week and a half ago we were at Pandemic Tour. We're going to have an upcoming segment about that, tell you all about that. But, so first off, last week we did not get to talk about this. The previous week we talked about Captain Marvel being on Entertainment Weekly, but now, finally, and you were asking, the trailer finally dropped. Ms. Jen, what did you think about that?
I avoided it like the plague. I don't want to know anything. I want to be surprised. I want to my first view of it, I want to be big screen only.
So have you not looked at any pictures or anything?
I've seen the pictures. I'm okay with that. Okay. I just don't want to see... It loses some power when the first time you see something is on the screen like this.
Well, hopefully you can avoid that till February. But I don't know what the odds would be on that.
Probably none.
Well, with me, I work in an environment where there's always commercial breaks and trailers on air, and then having to do this, I have to take one for the team and watch all this cool stuff and talk about it. Yeah. So, but I know you saw it.
I saw it. I loved it. I'm excited about it. I watched it with my barber, and
that sounds like an episode of TV.
Yeah. So I watched it in the car, and there were two. There were one where it was a little shorter, and then a proper trailer. So when I went into the barbershop and I told my barber about it, he's like, let me pull it up. And that was the real one. And man, I'm excited. And I always like seeing alien type creatures in the daytime. And we saw that. So that makes me excited.
Well, and now from the pictures and stuff that Skrulls are in it and Kree are in it. So we'll refrain, but I am going to mention one thing that the actual poster came out.
Yes.
And it's her in a hanger. Costume looks awesome, of course. Off to the left is the half-end walking out of the frame, an orange tabby cat. So people are already like...
What's that about?
So in the books, she has a flurkin, which looks like an Earth cat, but cat from outer space, Disney. And so it's an orange tabby, but when Rocket Raccoon encounters it, he's like, that's not a cat. That's a flurkin. Flurkins have the unique ability, and his name is Chewie after Star Wars Chewie. They have the unique ability to basically access a pocket universe.
Yes. Have
giant tentacles, razor sharp teeth for defense attacks. Can pull people into the pocket universe. So that could get interesting.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
And what was cool about it too was we got to see young Captain Marvel, teenage, so we got to see the alter. So a little girl can see that and go I want to emulate myself for that hero.
Yeah, I mean, and there's lots of stories to pull from. I think they're going to do a good job. Monica Rambeau is in it, so a lot of people are excited about that. You get to see a very young, de-aged Agent Coulson, Samuel L. Jackson with two eyes, which we saw in the picture, but it's very cool to see that. Just imagine... having grown up and watching movies in the 80s, when they would try to de-age someone, it would be only makeup. But now they can just do incredible things.
And let me just talk about this. We see this with Nick Cage, right? And we get to see this with Michael Douglas and Robert Downey Jr. And they're doing this in a tasteful way. And we're watching it now that's not a big deal. This is huge. All right. That's all I want to say. Blockbuster.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and
we have to say it's in the 90s. I'm sorry,
we gotta say it. Yeah. She crashes into a blockbuster. Sorry.
Yeah,
but
that means nothing. You don't know what that means. I don't even know. I watched it. I don't even know what that means.
Right.
I do know what it means.
There's so many people having to be explained what that is. Although there's a Blockbuster open in London, but the catch is it was open for 48 hours a couple days last week. The catch was only movie available was Deadpool 2. That's the best promotion I've ever heard.
And I want to mention this too. Everyone's talking about vinyl making a comeback. No. Vinyl never went away. DJs always preferred it. So there's always been vinyl. But we're going to get, if people make cassette tapes, there's no reason for a cassette tape. We're going to get blockbusters again because people are going to want to be hipsters and have VHS tapes and make their own little mixtapes like how we did with the VHS tapes. And it's like you got your own YouTube channel on a little cassette tape. A big cassette tape, VHS tape. So I feel bad because the 90s is a period piece and it makes me feel old.
But, I mean, we knew it was going to make a comeback.
Yeah.
So moving on, let's go back to the 80s now. The new trailer for Bumblebee, which was I had two favorite characters, Snake Eyes and Bumblebee, G.I. Joe, Transformers. Bumblebee is getting his own movie, okay? And instead of the kind of tired, played out boy and his dog or boy and his robot, now we get a girl and her robot, which is awesome. And the movie looks incredible because one of the biggest criticisms of the Michael Bay franchise was that half the Transformers look like toasters with rabies, right? It's just like a big mess. Like that you would just stick a screwdriver in a wall. Oh, that's a Transformer. You put a fork in the microwave. That's Transformer. Like it just looked chaotic.
I couldn't tell who was who.
I couldn't tell who was who. And in this, it's like we get old school G1 Optimus Prime. Soundwave, Shockwave. Of course, Bumblebee is a classic, 85 yellow bug. And it just looks like they're going to do a good job this time.
So, I just want to bring this up. I didn't watch Transformers. I didn't watch G.I. Joe. I was spending the night at my brother's friend's house, and they would have all the He-Man, they would have the Panther that Skeletor would ride on. That was barely in the cartoon. And they had Soundwave. And that was a big deal because that was when, like 1984, 1983, 1985, hip-hop started kind of being on the scene. So for them to have a boombox and pops out a tape cassette with this Panther, that was a big deal. So to see that in the trailer, like we were mentioning before, awesome stuff. And I'm sorry, I can't think of the person's name right now, but the writer of this is also going to write the Birds of Prey movie.
And that got a release date of February 7th, 2020.
Oh,
but there's still no news. We're going to keep up on that one as there's news for that. But back to Transformers Bumblebee, that's going to be directed by Travis Knight. And he did Kubo and the Two Strings. You saw that, right?
Loved it so much.
And I just think that was such an awesome, heartfelt story. Maybe that's what this franchise needs. It's not really a reboot. It's more of a prequel. But I think
a soft reboot.
Most importantly, it's a reimagining.
Yeah,
like we got to get away from an explosion every 5 seconds, and just like a intertanglement of mess of robots. Like you can't even tell who is who.
I want to say this. One time in GQ magazine, there was a picture of Michael Bay, and he was in the kitchen with a gun and a frying pan, and I was like, that summarizes your career. Keep going.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a big winner because it also comes out like December 21st, so it's perfect Christmas time movie.
Do we know what the rating's going to be for it? Are they going to allow kids to watch this one?
I think so. I think it's gonna Bumblebee,
be PG.
Oh yeah.
I think it'll be PG.
It came off that way to me.
But I don't know what the rating is for violence against robots.
John Cena.
John Cena's in it.
He's in it.
Yeah.
So hey, John Cena.
I think it's going to be PG.
PG-13 is fine. I just thought the first movie with all the drug references was a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think they're going to get away from that. I think this is going to be a softer story, but also obviously a story about trying to stop an alien invasion.
Yeah.
So maybe from like chaos and explosions, it's going to be the same. But it looks like to be a really sweet story between this girl and Bumblebee. So I think it's going to... I hope this is a case where I really hope it reaches as wide an audience as possible.
Get a whole new generation loving it.
Oh, yeah. And loving Generation 1. And they do that. There have been so many the cartoons have never stopped. It's just they haven't been as popular because they're constantly doing redesigns. And I think if this is successful, maybe we finally get stuff like Voltron, like Mask, other stuff that was really design intensive that people love still to this day, and they buy old, have to go to like toy stores that specialize in vintage toys and stuff like that. But there's still a big market for all of this stuff. Speaking about a big market for stuff, Into the Star Trek universe, kind of. Patrick Stewart, he's been working on a new Star Trek series.
So excited.
That's awesome news. But another thing that that is a busy guy. He's a busy guy, and
that's what keeps him young.
And he's really fit for his age. He's a busy guy. He's added to the Elizabeth Banks reboot of Charlie's Angels as Bosley. But the thing is, he is going to be a second Bosley. So now, and you remember the Charlie's Angels movies, right?
Yes.
So what's going to happen is it's going to be like an international thing where there's different sanctioned Charlie's Angels around the world. So
like James Bond should be.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean that.
So, but that's actually started production this week. That is going to star as at least one group of the Angels. It'll be Kristen Stewart from Twilight fame, and then Naomi Scott and Ella Balinski. Again, multiple groups, lots of chance for just like international espionage, and diverse groups, and just seems like it'll be fun.
And no McG.
And no McG.
I'm sorry, I just want to.
Well, Elizabeth Banks is all over this. Like,
yeah.
She wrote, directed, and she's going to star as another one of the Bosleys. So, and it's nice to have the ability for, a woman to be Bosley. Because Bosley's just like it's just a code name.
Oracle.
I'm
sending you out in the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a code name.
Yeah.
So, now, in other comics but movie-related news, so we've talked about this a couple times already. Joaquin Phoenix is going to play the Joker, right? DC has also announced like the whole hey, there's multiple Jokers in the universe. So, this could be one of many Joker movies. This one cannot do well and then just stop. And then I think along with this, there's also a Harley Quinn and Joker movie in the works. So people are either about to fall in love with the Joker all over again or be really tired and tuckered out. But set photos came out, and Joaquin Phoenix, he's a bit of a character actor.
so good at all of the things.
So remember he did a documentary where he was trolling everybody.
Yeah,
Ben Affleck's brother directed.
Yeah, and but his movies are really intense. The Joker's a really intense character. So last week they actually released a photo from set where he was Arthur Fleck. So he's in his civvies. He's just in like a tan jacket. Very just kind of like subdued looking. But then later in the week, they released a photo of makeup. And and people were freaking out, much along the lines of how they freaked out when Brie Larson was first shown in a Kree uniform that was black and green, and people that weren't familiar with that whole story of Captain Marvel were confused. Why isn't it red and blue? And they just missed the whole movie because of that, and now they love it, right? But, he basically looks like the bank robbery Joker in the Christopher Nolan movies with Heath Ledger doing that awesome turn as the Joker. But, it's white makeup with the blue and red, and people are split. I think some people are like, oh, cool, this is what he originally looked like. And some people are like, what's that? Where's the green hair? Where's the all-white makeup?
There.
Yeah. But... So, at this point now, having seen that, having heard a little bit about it, are you more intrigued, less intrigued, or still the same?
I've already told you how I got these scars.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? No, for me, we're so far out. Seeing Joaquin Phoenix do he's a creepy neighbor and I don't want him near the playground. Just him sitting there without the makeup is already wild. I don't know what type of story they want to tell. Like we mentioned this before, it seems like they're going to make some type of Scorsese film. So I'm interested every time they release something. I'm there for it. I saw that makeup, and the only thing I thought, I was like, that's cool. I just like, but is that him? It's just like a totally different person. But whatever they're about to do, and I just like the fact that it looks like it's going to be street level. And like when you do a Gotham story, that I want street level stuff. No supernatural things, no monsters. Give me just straight up. He's a gang leader. Mm-hmm. He's a thug, like this true definition of a thug. Yeah.
Would either of you catch his movie from earlier last year? You were never, or earlier this year. You're never really here. You're talking about street level, like that. Trust me, he is capable of doing it. Yeah. It's a matter of the writing and the directing, I think. Because he is more than capable of pretty much doing anything you could ask an actor to do.
Yeah.
And I
Walk
think
the line.
And I think in this day and age where like people take set photos, put them on Twitter, or put them on Instagram, and immediately gets out there, like you were saying, trying to avoid the trailer so you're fully immersed in the character. Like it just doesn't happen that way for most people. But if you're the type of person that spends every living moment trying to figure out what the end product's going to be based on Twitter posts, you're going to have a long and stressful life.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Yeah, that means nothing.
That means nothing. Yeah, I would just take it as it comes, but I think it's going to be good. Sticking with DC, this was kind of weird news from like 2 weeks ago. We weren't on last week to talk about it, but Henry Cavill, there's all these rumors of he's stepping down as Superman. This is kind of joined at the hip with Ben Affleck probably being out as Batman. He's having personal issues. He's not really as well received by Batman as a lot of people. People like John Hamm have already been like, I'll take it. Yeah. So you have that going on. But back to the Henry Cavill thing, he responded by going on Instagram and taking a video where he just like slowly raises an action figure of Superman over his face. And in the background, people always notice something on the probably fifth time watching video. The cape's hung up in the background. So it's like, wait, are you hanging up the cape? Like it was very like maybe intentionally conflicting. But if he's gone, what do you think about that, and who would you like to replace?
Oh gosh, I don't know. If he's gone, I hope it's part of a greater plan and not just like a weird trajectory out. I would like to think it's part of we've tried this group as individuals, and now we want to move to a different vision for the. I don't know how they're going to do Justice League if all those guys are gone. It'll be kind of interesting. But I don't know. I haven't thought of who I thought would be good for that part. I really liked him in that part very much. I haven't liked the part they've given him to play, though. So him as Superman, love. The stuff he's had to act through, the dark stuff, I think that's been the hardest jump for him, honestly.
Yeah, and with Henry Cavill, I just feel very insecure because I like him playing Superman. I like every movie that he's in. I really enjoy Man of Steel because that's when Christopher Nolan still had his hands on it. I know a lot of people, like my cousin David. He does not like Henry Cavill, like how he plays Superman and what they've given him. Mm-hmm. So like I don't know what to think. I like him playing Superman, but if he wants to leave and they replace him, that's fine. Mm-hmm. I don't know who they can. I mean, there's plenty of people they can replace him with, sure. And I'm open for it, but. I know a lot of people. There were some people like up in arms about him playing him playing Superman and how he played him, and I'm just feeling like I guess I don't know what I'm talking about because I was fine with him. So
maybe I'm in love with Chris Reeve.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I like the kind of a little not buffoonery, but he played so well the Clark Kent buffoon. But of course, it was the era in which that movie was made. It was perfect. I don't know. When he was being Superman, he was serious. And I just think that they made him be serious all the time. And
like I tell Mark all the time, I'm drawing a blank now, but the actor from Wings, he's my Superman. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The actor from Wings?
He does the voice acting for the cartoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he's my Superman, so I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But I like Henry Cavill playing Superman. Sorry, Tim Daly, I'm sorry.
You threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
But
Tim Daly is my Superman.
At conventions, I hear all the time that people's favorite Batman is Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
Who voiced, Batman the Animated Series, which is totally beloved, so I get that.
Well, and Eisenberg is my favorite Wonder Woman. Susan Eisenberg is my favorite Wonder Woman. No shots at anybody else.
And the number one rumor to replace Henry Cavill is Michael B. Jordan. So that's something to think about. I think that would shake it up. I say let Superman fly off to the Fortress of Solitude and put Supergirl in there. That's what I say. But honestly, if they were going to do this, they should have done this, during Justice League, had him kind of stay away, and then you could do like the 4 Supermen that came, including Steel, Superboy, some other people. But yeah, I mean, it's really just it's a mess. Yeah. Like Wonder Woman was awesome, and the DC really needs to work hard on all this other stuff. That you can't compete with Marvel. Don't try it. And we'll just go and see, go from there. So last week, since we were doing the pandemic thing, we took the week off. last Monday the Emmys happened. Now, I know you, Ashford, are not really into award shows.
Yeah.
What about you, Miss Jen? You into award shows at all?
Only the Oscars, and only for the clothes.
Okay, well, that's fair. I would say, like, the people at the Emmys dress very nice. I mean, they're still actors, TV actors. But speaking of, that's not a thing anymore, right? Like
No.
TV versus
Oh,
movie,
no,
it's
no.
not a thing.
It's blurred.
It's so blurred due to Netflix. Movie actors are being in movies that are streaming on Amazon exclusively or Netflix exclusively. But also, you can make a killing.
Yeah.
Developing this stuff, and it's just. And the production quality is out of this world.
Robin Williams and Will Smith, they started this too, blending the two.
And then Disney's going to continue that blend. They're going to start their streaming service app, and I'm sure it's going to be top notch. But they are taking Tom Hiddleston and making a Loki series.
Oh wow!
And people are like, "Well, that's kind of." People are wondering, like, is that a slap in the face to Netflix? Only because like they're putting like a movie budget on it. So it's rumored that Loki and Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, so they're getting 2 movie stars to do a TV series for their streaming service. So those lines are going to continuously be blurred. But I just wanted to mention, I'm a big TV guy, so a couple of the notable happenings at the Emmys. Henry Winkler won his first ever Emmy.
That's awesome.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. Yeah. He plays the acting coach on Barry on HBO, opposite Bill Hader. That show did really well. Speaking of blurring the lines, Amazon is probably continuously infuriating the networks, or continuing the infuriation of the networks towards streaming services, because The Marvelous Miss Maisel won 5 awards, including Best Actress for Rachel Brosnahan. That show was awesome. And then, because it's Nerd News Now, a sci-fi series, Game of Thrones, sci-fi fantasy, that won Best Series. So that's gearing up for its final season next year. I like those shows only because I really focus on the writing and directing categories. And sometimes it helps me, like, okay, maybe I should see this show. It's the same way, like, if I go to Rotten Tomatoes and I see a movie has, like, a 98, I'm probably going to watch it. It's not because the public has influenced me, but maybe it's because I just haven't heard about this and, it's actually good. Like, people with my similar interest are going to see this stuff. So that's kind of why I favor the award shows and all that. But Atlanta got shut out, so the best show on TV got 0 awards. So, I mean, it's one of those things you got to take it with a grain of salt. But looking forward to television, Ashford, you do a podcast straight out of Gallifrey that is centered around Doctor Who and Time Lords. We finally have a release date. It's going to be October 7th for the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker. And they just did their premiere over in Sheffield a couple of days ago. So what's the news on that front?
So what's cool about this is, like you mentioned before, it's going to debut October 7th. It's moving from Saturdays, which is a tradition for it.
Yep.
Except for in the 80s, it moved to Tuesday, Thursdays, when they were doing the serial format. And it's moving to Sundays. We don't have a time. So this is going to, if they simulcast this, it's going to be running during NFL football. That's going to be interesting, right? But, I'm ready to get cable so I can start watching Rockets games and Doctor Who. And we saw a proper trailer, and I'm excited about it. It had pop music in it. That was different. I forget the name of the pop artist because I'm old. It was like Macklemore. Does that ring a bell? But that singer is in the trailer, and it looked like they were off-world and in the future to me. Didn't see the TARDIS, but did see some things that was off-world, It seemed like it was in the future, so we'll see. I don't know if time is out of sync, and she has to fix it or what. Like, I don't know if her companions, if they're all of 2018. Or I'm just guessing. I don't know. I don't have any inside information. But I just know when they did their teaser back in the summer, it was a dude, he was reading the Beano magazine, but he was in present day, and Beano is some type of comic from like the 80s or 60s. So I don't know if time is out of sync and she has to fix it. But yeah, it was fun stuff. I'm excited. I just want to stay alive and not die, so I can see this season
And
series.
And then in another little bit of Doctor Who news, because of the oncoming season, the new Doctor, the fresh start, there was a little bit of backlash against Capaldi, right? An article that was written for the BBC was like kind of speaking with how a lot of people didn't favor him as the Doctor.
Yeah.
So, but Twitter, for once, defended, and they had the hashtag, the universe loves Capaldi. So that was nice to see. So we'll see, though, like, it's good to see an appreciation for all the previous Doctors, but everyone's really looking forward to Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Jodie Whittaker, and, like, I talked to a couple of kids, and they talked about, I watched Doctor Who. I was like, who's your favorite Doctor? They said David Tennant. So, like, I know a lot of friends, they jumped off, even when Matt Smith was there. They were like, I like Tennant. And then with Capaldi, I adore his era. I think, like, as far as production value was high, the scripts were good. Like, Listen, that I've seen Listen so many times. Mm-hmm. And with Straight Outta Gallifrey, it's a Doctor Who podcast where we talk about other Time Lord episodes. We started all the way back with the William Hartnell Doctor, and now we're at the Capaldi run. So I was looking forward to those episodes just to talk about Michelle Gomez's Missy performance. But now I can't wait to go in there and talk about how I think Peter Capaldi was misinterpreted, because I think a lot of people thought that he was grouchy and dark. But I think if you go back and watch it, he was actually being humorous. Yes. Sometimes at other people's expense, and I can see how they can turn people off. But I know, like with my niece, she's a teenager. She found it funny because they're into sarcasm and that stuff. So I think he was misread. So like with the second Doctor, a lot of his episodes were missing. And like hardcore fans went back and they went, whoa, wait a minute, this dude's pretty good. In the future, we're going to go back and look at these Capaldi episodes. I'm Ashford-splaining. And we're going to end up finding out this dude was actually awesome and we're misinterpreting his run on that show. Well, but I can't wait for the new season.
We're going to be tuned in October 7th. You guys stay tuned for more Nerd News Now right after this.
Football season is here, and Woodlands Online Sports is back better than ever. Watch all the action on KVQT 21 Houston and woodlandsonline.com.
For home repairs, call John Moore, where quality is guaranteed. If the problem returns, so will we. No extra charge.
Call John, get more. 730-2525.
Welcome back to Nerd News Now. So like I said, about a week and a half ago, we had the opportunity to go to a Pandemic Tour here in Houston, the NRG Center. Guys, what did you think of that convention? Ms. Jen first.
I really liked it. There's so much good energy in there. I saw some great cosplay. Lots of it.
And I like the vibe there, and I enjoy going to conventions in my city. So I felt like I was with my country people. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like it had that vibe of, hey, I'm just now getting into the Marvel Universe. I'm just now getting into Walking Dead. And I didn't know that there was an extra component where you can participate in it by cosplaying. So it seemed like there are a lot of cosplayers there, whereas like, this is my first time doing it, my third time doing it. So, you find your tribe, and that's awesome. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was really impressed by the retailers there. I mean, I found like soap shaped like Yoda and Black Panther bath bombs, so I was ecstatic about it.
And they also had Green Lantern and all the other like Red Lantern, the Indigo Lantern, all that stuff.
Soaps.
So yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, and I got to meet Bruce Campbell. Got an opportunity to meet him for a second. He was a really cool guy. Got to interview John Schneider. That's on the website on woodlandsonline.com. Check that out. Ashford, you interviewed a couple of cosplayers, and I think we're going to hear from them now about cosplay.
Yeah, check this out.
And Ashford is back at Pandemic Tour Houston. Right now I have with me Steve Rogers as the cosplay, but the person underneath the cosplay is Daniel in the Lion's Den, one of those chapters in the Bible, Old Testament style. Not the forgiving one, but the more punishing brimstone, rain, frogs raining down on you. So what do you think about the Pandemic Tour thus far?
Oh, well, for the first one, I've had a lot of fun. I was Thor yesterday and Captain America today, of course. it's just been, everybody, I saw multiple Thors, multiple Buckies today, so it's pretty awesome. And it's just been a pretty fun experience. So I've enjoyed everything so far about it.
Tell us about your journey as a cosplayer. Like, what led you to, like, it seemed like you've done 2 Marvel characters. You want to talk to us about your journey?
Yeah, well, I went to my first Comic-Con back in 2014. I didn't dress up, but it was like I saw like a Thor, and then I saw other characters, and then I was like, this seems pretty fun. So I started doing like Halloween parties, dressed up like that. First, it was like Batman, and then I did Captain America for like 3 straight years, and I was like, well, I'm starting to like this. So 2016 was my first Comic-Con I dressed up as the Winter Soldier, Captain America, and after that I kind of liked it, and I started making my own suits after that for a while, and then so I made a Captain America now and a Thor suit. So it's just been started from just Halloween parties and then going to the first Comic-Con in 2014. And then after that, it's just like I've fallen in love with it. So it's become like major part of my life so far.
Daniel, let me ask you one more question. There's a lot of people out there, they're watching these Marvel movies, they're watching Walking Dead, and they're interested in this whole cosplay aspect of it. They didn't know that, I can extend this off the screen and actually participate in this. Can you give any advice for those people that might be fretting over like going to one of these? Maybe they don't have friends that are into it too, so they can't go as a bunch. You have any advice for those people that are shy and they might have to come to one of these conventions themselves and in cosplay with courage to do it alone?
I mean, yeah, I was nervous too. That's why I didn't dress up the first time, but then I saw how like welcoming it was, and just, there's tons of people there, and you'll make friends. So if that's the problem, you'll definitely make a lot of friends doing this. So I've made tons of friends that are like just taking a picture and like, I'm gonna add them on Instagram, and then constantly just hanging out or just doing more cosplaying together. And 2 of my friends came from Louisiana who I just found through like Facebook, and then I met them on Facebook, and then now we're like best friends because they're like big Marvel fans also. So if it's just through social media first or coming to an event, you'll definitely make friends, and then it'll feel you feel welcomed. That's how it was for me. Like I was nervous, but I said, hey, there's tons of cool people here. And it's pretty awesome, starting with back in 2016 and 2014 actually, and then just continued on 2016. So it's definitely a lot of fun and a lot of cool people. They're probably the most awesome, like, respectable people I've met at Comic-Con. So it's pretty fun.
And there you have it. This is Ashford, and those people who think about maybe they might want to come to a convention and even go another step further and cosplay. You heard it here. Daniel, he's confirming it. Just you're kind of putting your tiptoe in that cold water. Just jump in and you can find your tribe and have a lot of fun.
Well, again, that was a lot of fun. Now, Miss Jen, you're going to New York City Comic Con.
I am. I'm slightly terrified because I've never been there before, and I'm going on my own, so it's like a solo expedition. But I know lots of people once I get there.
Yeah, and it's always one of those things where, like, I do that a lot for Dallas and San Antonio. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll just kind of like, I'm going to this convention tomorrow. Well, sometimes I'll plan it in advance. There was like one day where I planned it like at 10 p.m. the night before. And
that's crazy talk.
It's a little crazy, but like it starts eating at you. Like, oh, this person's going to be there, and I may never be able to meet them again. Because I like meeting the writers, the artists, the celebrities. That is a big one. I mean, we're talking like top 3, maybe second to San Diego, right?
Yeah, I just saw an image today. I didn't realize that Marvel Studios, they have that giant booth that they bring, where's the big stage, and they bring all the big guns. That's at this con, so that's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and there's probably... We had thought that maybe they were going to hold off on the Captain Marvel trailer reveal there. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely going to be a lot of big news broken, so that is going to be fun.
Oh, it's going to be...
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun interviewing Rags Morales, and I talked to him about his work on Identity Crisis, and then on his Facebook page, he has an old interview that I read a long time ago about that very scene with Ralph Digby holding his wife when she, was murdered. Yeah.
Well, they said they're going to come back in 2019. I hope they do. I hope we're there to cover it.
Yeah.
That is all the time we have now on Nerd News Now. Wow. It has flown by. But tune in next week for all the news from the worlds of nerds, geeks, and popular culture. Once again, for Ashford and Miss Jen, I'm Mark. This has been Nerd News Now.